out the DMV, and this is the Neighborish live cast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Super Dave, aka Mr. Incredible, and with me, as always, our group of dope individuals. Starting with, I always usually start with Fruit Fit, but she's not with us today. She had a previous engagement. Shout out to her. She will be back with us next week. So I'm going to start with my brother from another, the SC3 representative, DC native son, the one and only Jay's son.
Hey, good morning.
What's up, brother? It's always good to have you with us. And yeah, hi.
Thank you.
And our special guest host today, the show Getting Over the Hump, that was the precursor to this show, was born of the conversations that me and this young lady would have about relationships and life and interpersonal connections and things. She has one of the highest relationship IQs of anyone that I've ever had the pleasure of talking to. Aisha Green is with us.
Peace.
And as if that wasn't enough, our guest today is you. Hey, how you doing? Our guest today is the owner and operator of Infinite Wisdom Homeschool. She is also the CEO of 17 and Up Meals. Cooking. I need to plate too. We need to talk about that. And she's also the founder of the Exquisite Ladies of Diamond Class, which is an organization that she put together to support women and children who are victims of, survivors, of domestic violence. Ladies and gentlemen, Ladee Domino is with us. Hey, how you doing?
Good morning.
And it's, you're a very inspired person. I'm always, I'm getting messages that my microphone is really low, so I'm gonna try to scream a little bit. No. Yeah, I'm a fan of your story. Did I get louder to you guys?
You was fine initially, so I don't know where you're low, but
maybe
gotta listen to the people.
Yeah, I have to. So, but anyway, we're glad to have you here. We're going to talk about your life, your journey, and the businesses that you run. We're going to get into all that, but first, there's a lot of things going on in the city, in the country, in the world that we need to talk about, and we're going to talk about them right now.
What's going on, Dave?
A lot, man. The coronavirus is still out there wreaking havoc on
For real?
on the world. Yeah, man. You wouldn't know it from this weekend from the pictures of people rushing out to the beaches in Jersey and Florida and not social distancing and no masks.
One of
and
my
stuff like
homeboys
that.
passed from COVID, man.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to
man.
hear that.
Yeah. It's wild out here.
Yeah. It's not only wild, it's real in these streets. Like people not
Yeah.
taking it as seriously as they need to be, and it's really becoming an issue because we got politicians, we got the president, people talking about reopening things, and people really going for this whole push to get back out, and people feeling like they entrapped in their own house and things like that. And I just got to get out and get some air, and I got to be with people and get back to normalcy. And it's kind of a rush, man. It's a little early. I don't know. They've been talking about a second wave, and we had the highest numbers of anywhere in the world. The U.S. had the highest numbers of anywhere in the world this week, and of deaths and coronavirus cases. So it's not a good sign. It's looking kind of crazy. Y'all think
I guess it's kind of balanced though, because at least I haven't heard. I got a couple of homeboys that work in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
There've been no heart attacks, no suicides.
I don't know.
No, you know what I'm saying? They work at
GW.
GW, so
Okay.
and they was just like, yo, it's interesting. Like nobody's dying from anything else.
And do you
So I was
think
like,
that's
wow, the
true,
world just changed like that.
Do you think that's true, or you think they just not
I
reporting
don't. I'm
it?
just relaying information. One is a doctor and one is a nurse at
Okay.
GW, and they are perplexed.
But
So nobody's dying from nothing else.
Nothing else.
Yeah, that's not. Is that true?
Yeah, that is
I don't know
bizarre.
if that's exactly true because my son, one of his best friends was killed by his stepfather because of this whole thing. You know what I mean? And then we still are hearing about police-related shootings. So I don't think it's accurate to say that nobody is dying of anything else. Maybe the level of deaths related to diseases has not been noted as deeply as this whole corona thing, because the whole corona thing took preference over everything else.
Yeah, that seems more feasible, but we'll look into it.
Yeah, I
me,
don't
Jay,
know.
I'll do some
I'm just
research.
an idiot out here in these streets. I don't know nothing, man.
You
I just
say
be people. All I do is watch the news and read the newspapers.
Yeah.
I'm just spewing shit.
You mean you don't watch like Love and Hip Hop or Real
Yeah,
Housewives?
those are my favorite shows.
That's
Love
not
and
what you
Hip Hop and Empire, and I love listening to Megan Thee Stallion and I love
I feel like
the
he's being facetious
Migos.
right
Yeah,
now.
man, all my favorite stuff.
But look, speaking of that though, I'm not even gonna fake my new thing. Like I've been addicted to watching episodes of Catfish lately on YouTube. I just been like, it's because it's the craziest thing. Like something you see, like
amazing.
you see, like you said, it's amazing.
Amazing.
It's just crazy. Like, is it like I've never done internet dating like that? Is it really that bad in these
Really, Dave?
internet?
You've never been catfish, David?
I've never been catfish. I was thinking about that when I was researching this to talk about it, but I've never been catfish. There was two situations the only two situations where I met someone online and actually met them. One of them turned out to be one of my very best friends, Leslie. Each, Leslie, and the other one, it wasn't a catfish situation, but thinking back on this, it was kind of like, well, all the pictures she took of herself was like real close faces. So we talked for
She
a
was
while.
400 pounds.
Nah, it wasn't like that. And I wouldn't have a problem. Like I don't have a problem with people, But anyway, so when I went to meet her, we went to the movies, and we met at the movies, and it wasn't like I'm trying to think of how to like. So she had a prosthetic leg. And she was like 4'11".
Oh, I'm gonna get you sucker
no,
joint.
but look, I don't have a problem. So let me be clear. I don't have a problem with that. But it was the shock value of her not. You know what I'm saying? You not knowing that. So when I saw her the first time, like
I wouldn't be laughing if it wasn't for Ish. Like Ish is pausing.
Hold on, no, but look, no. So she seemed like when I first saw her, it was like, oh, it wasn't even like you know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, but I still was cool with she was cool. We had good conversation, but I think that initial face that I made turned her off because then she ain't like, after that, like she ain't call me back or that, But because that first face was like when I seen her, it was like, oh, it was like, hey. This you didn't tell me, so I think you should be up front. But that's all I'm saying. You should be up front. But those are the only two times I ever met somebody online, and one went really good, and the other one went really, well, I wouldn't say really bad, but it ain't go good. So that just kind of soured me to the whole thing. Have y'all ever met somebody online and met them in real life or dated or anything like that?
No.
I haven't.
I have. I've been catfished. I've been floundered. I've been.
What is a flounder? What is flounder?
Dogfish, all the fish. Okay,
fish. What is it? Wait, so what is it? Is that really a thing, or you joking?
No, I made that up.
Oh, okay.
All school of fishes, but yeah, I've been catfished before. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, cause it's like craziness out there. It's like but catfish is hilarious. Sometimes I'll be wondering if I'm trying to stop speaking Ebonics. I wonder sometimes.
I be wondering sometimes.
I be on here chilling out, but
I think that's more appropriate for our culture, though, Dave. We got to create our own language and our own cadence.
I don't think so. I
words.
think that we can speak the language. We can. It's communication. How we communicate. I don't know if it needs to be different, especially if it's like. If we're gonna have a different language, it need to be something completely different. Like it don't need to be like a broken version of what they.
You don't know the rules, Dave.
I mean, well, I'm just saying that's my opinion of it.
You do whatever we want to do.
Because we talk about it's our language, but it's a version of their language. Like we should be speaking like
Well, David, that I'm fluent in Geechee, so there's that.
Let me tell you something, Dave.
Thing. Like
we created every language anyway.
That's a good point, though. That's a good point.
So,
blah. And with that, we're going to move on to the primary elections. We're in mid-election season, and I know because I've been getting calls from candidates from their supporters in D.C. And make sure you take these candidates to task because the local elections are very important. So I got a call, and I'm not going to say the
They are
name of
they?
the. Yeah, they are. I'm gonna let you
Okay.
go into that. Give me 1 second. I just want
No,
to.
don't put it on me. I'm just.
No, because hey, when it comes to that, you the one. But I just want to real quick talk about like make sure you take your your candidates to task. If somebody calling you asking for your vote, I had a dude call me from one of the guys who's running for Ward 8 council seat. He was trying to run against Trayon White. And he first the guy was like, yeah, the candidate I'm working for is running against Trayvon Smalls, and I was like, you mean Trayon White? And he was like, yeah, yeah. So then he tried to go into like he was like, so you should vote for our candidate because he's really, his platform is the hospitals over here are terrible. Like we only got really 2 hospitals in this area, and they're really dilapidated. And so can we count on your vote? And I'm like, hold up, yeah, the hospitals are bad. I agree, but what's he gonna do about it? Like, is he just gonna talk about how bad the hospital? Like, what's his platform? Like, what's his? And he didn't know none of it. He was like, "Hold on, I'm gonna get the campaign manager for you, and she gonna tell you what the person's doing." I stayed on hold for a minute. I'm like, "Yeah, I want to talk. You might have my vote if you got something." He came back to the phone. Was like, "Well, the campaign manager is busy, but I'm gonna have the candidate call you tomorrow. Is tomorrow cool?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm off all day tomorrow. Tell him to hit me." I never heard from this dude, so whoever I'm voting for is not him. So I
Wow.
say all that to say hold your candidates to task. Like, find out what they really about and what they're really trying to do. Because one of the reasons I believe these elections are so important is because these people conduct the business and make the decisions, or are the faces of the decisions that are made, like that affect us the most directly. While all the decisions on every level, to a certain extent, can trickle down to us. The ones that directly affect what goes on in our neighborhoods and therefore in our lives are made by these people. And so we need to know. We need to not just go in there and see a name and be like, "Oh, that was my grandmama name. I'm gonna vote for her," or something. How the way people pick stuff. But Jay, I do want you to talk. Like, you ran for what, council member and mayor. And you talk. We've had conversations at nauseum about how important these elections are. So, in your opinion, like, why should people vote in these and be knowledgeable about these elections? It's too deep for you.
Well,
Well, not too deep for you, but
I ran for mayor twice in D.C. And so I learned a lot about internal politics, that I didn't understand before going into it. So based on, accomplishing goals and I guess what you're stating, like holding candidates accountable. So what I've learned through my 2 campaigns is that uh, based on the concerns of our communities and what we need to happen in our community, and this is just my subjective opinion based on 2 campaign runs in '06 and '10. Uh, I think voting is a waste of time. But I'm not saying that that's what people should think. You just asked my personal opinion. I'm not saying people shouldn't vote or anything. I'm saying people should do whatever they feel is correct. And but just from my personal perspective of being on a campaign trail and being inside those rooms um, with other candidates, and based on uh, uh, studying political science and understanding uh, politics from a perspective that I didn't understand before I studied political science and before I ran for elected official. I was like, oh, it's a bunch of BS. And that I didn't understand at first because I was so passionate about it. And I thought, like, yo, if we're going to effectively make change and get things to happen in our community and in our families and to benefit us in a positive way, this is the route to take. But after taking that route, I learned that it was not. So that's my little 2 cent. But I don't want
so
to,
so
shatter
what
people's
made you feel
perspective.
like it's not like a good thing to do, or would you say that
Well,
it was?
because it takes away from the power of the people. So you outsource your power to a person you don't know, when in actuality, what I learned is that the community actually holds all of the keys to what we need to see happen. Like the I guess candidates and the government officials rely on the communities to outsource their hopes, fears, wants, needs, and desires. And that is the game. The game is just to ensure that the community isn't dependent upon themselves. And so after, running for an elected official 2 times, I realized like the whole campaign is just for people to give up their self-discipline, their self-reliance to the state. Like that's the whole goal of a campaign. It's like, don't trust and believe in yourself and your community and your family and the people that you know. Believe in us. Like, it's impossible for you to do this. It's impossible for you to accomplish those goals. And still, entrust us with what you need. We'll represent you. We'll be like your representative to the state, to the earmarks and the resources and the funds, and just tell us what you need and we got you. But in actuality, their understanding on the other side of the boardroom is that like, the people have all the power. We have to be able to convince these people to give their power that they already have to us. And it works like every time. And the community never, ever, ever, ever changes for the better.
So what's the alternative then? Like what's your like what can we do to stop that cycle of
we could organize and mobilize our own communities, and we can select leadership from within our own ranks. So you and I live in Ward 8. Trayon is our councilman. And you can ask him. I've had a part in Trayon's development, in his understanding of politics. Not, I'm not like his mentor or nothing like that. But if you ask him, he'll be like, yeah, he's not bullshitting you, But it's just like that's how, quote unquote, elected officials should be groomed. They should be some of our children, our nieces, our nephews that understand the culture and our environment from our position, and then be like, okay, us, without like any type of government influence, we're going to select you out the hood, like, grab somebody off the block who we think has been trained well enough to understand our community and our demands and the contradictions that we face as a community to be a representative. Like, a lot of times, people use these catchwords like, jobs or housing or, whatever, gentrification, like these tag words to get people emotionally tied into thinking that they can make, certain changes and adjustments to their community. But in actuality, money runs all of that. And the only thing that could counter the money is human capital. Human capital, that's the power that we possess that we don't know because we're never organized collectively. We're never mobilized collectively. We always outsource our wants, needs, and desires to some person we don't even know. We don't even know these people, and we trust them basically with our lives. And I just think from a war perspective, that's counterproductive in accomplishing true goals and accomplishments as a community.
So would it be more because like the system set up the way it is, and like you said, it doesn't really change. So with it being the way it is, with people like Trayon that you were talking about, wouldn't that be a more feasible a notion to take someone from here who has the same goals or understands our goals and put them in that position to sit in these meetings and make noise and make change happen? And
but here's the other obstacle. Like once you get to that position, then that person will realize the truth about the politics. Like once you get in that position, then you'll realize like, it's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. All I can do is fight and ask for things and make little adjustments that are allowed by the government. But once you get in that position, when you get in the room, then you'll realize like, it's a well-oiled machine. It doesn't change. It hasn't changed in hundreds and hundreds of years. No one has has been able to like, oh yeah, I'm going to be the spook who sat by the door. Then once I get in, we're going to do this. Like once you get in, then you realize like how structured and fortified the system of electoral politics is. Like there's nothing you can do. And that's what they'll tell you. Like you could be like, yo, man, this is happening in our community, blah, blah, blah. Then said elected official will be like, well, I can only do this much, or my hands are tied, and blah, 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 and that's just facts. There's no way you can prove it wrong. Try.
So yeah, that's an interesting revelation. Like I usually champion the local elections. Like the way you feel about them is my.
And what have you seen happen to our community, Dave?
On national, you said what?
And what have you seen happen to our community?
Well, I mean, could it be like that it's not the right person, or like before having to understand?
So it's never, ever, ever, nope. ever the right person?
But
like
look at who it's been up until this point. But I mean, I'm just saying that. I mean, without the insight that you provided, that was the vision. It's like, well, if the right person was there, they could make it a
right.
difference.
That goes back to outsourcing your feelings, emotions, and wants and desires into some person. Where in actuality, the community has the answers and the ability and the resources to change your community or whatever, country, whatever it is, how you see fit. But the trick, the politics is that you outsource, you give up your power to an elected official. When in actuality, we already have the power. And that's the trick. It's like, oh, vote, get out and vote and do vote, voting isn't going to change your conditions, and it never has. We've been here for over 500 years, and like the sister said, Domino, it's still police shooting niggas in the head every day. It's still mass incarceration every day. We still be treated like second-class citizens every day. Absolutely nothing has changed. We have less ownership. We have less community. We have less families. You know what I'm saying? People just look at like, oh, because we got like $300 belts on that we've collectively made progress. But in actuality, if you look at the tangible, factual evidence of our communities in particular, and our land ownership and our wealth per capita, everything has decreased, and we are technically worse off than we've ever been from a mental perspective, because not only have we lost all of our land and resources, now we have also lost our families and our communities. So good luck with voting. I wish y'all the best. You know what I'm saying? I pray for y'all, and I hope that you realize that you are more powerful than any elected official. Then after it's you, then it's us. We are more powerful than anything that exists.
Can I ask you a question? How do you feel? How would you feel about segregation on a level where we decided to segregate ourselves?
I think that's a wise decision, and based upon like if we are truly striving for political gain and economic gain and financial gain and family gain, that makes the most logical sense to do. And then if people want to be free-nilly and just wait till we get a grasp on our communities, and then if you want to sprinkle out and date white women and do all of this stuff, fine. But wait till we galvanize ourselves and gain our wealth and gain our land and put a flag back in some soil.
Right.
And then if you want to, whatever it is people desire, try it then, because then it won't make as much sense. The desire won't be there as much, because then we'll see our own greatness. We'll recognize what we are. The mirror will be so clear to us, you wouldn't even want.
Right. People are so scared of, what I don't understand is why are people so scared of change? Like they'll change from Gucci to Prada, but they won't change from believing in a white person that doesn't have good intentions for us to believing in our own selves. Like we actually have the power, the means, and everything else to actually build a community that works for us.
Yeah, we have everything we need.
See,
Yes,
five,
but
five
people
minutes
are
with
so
Jay Simon.
dead
She's a
set
freedom
on just
fighter.
not wanting. They want to depend. They want to depend on somebody to. It's like we have a extreme mindset of just complete laziness. Like we
It's
want
Well,
not.
to.
now
It's
hold up. Now
complacency.
we
It's
can't. Let's not
complacency,
talk
and
about
it's
our people.
Not all
manufactured.
of
It's
us.
manufactured.
Not all of us.
Well, understand it's a conditioning though, so it's not
It's
just
Yeah,
people
manufactured.
being that way.
definitely.
So as soon as you
Yeah.
are born, you are injected with all of these vaccines, and then you're plopped in front of a television, then you're listening to these radio waves, then you get these Barbie dolls and these toys that show a superior race. Then you go to church and you see this white Jesus on the wall, and then you are, and then when we have members of our community who come through the ranks and become leadership and organize and mobilize communities in a positive, beneficial manner, the state will murder them. And so that's more incentive to be like, I'm going to vote for this white man because, what I'm saying? It's too much consequence for us to mobilize and organize. That's the biggest threat. And that's what I'm saying is the political branch of politics. It has nothing to do with people the way they think. Politics is a mind control to give up your power to the power of the state.
Mm-hmm.
So don't knock our people. We are in a
No,
whirlwind of madness.
I
but
don't feel like it's all of us
Right.
in any way, shape, or form. It's definitely not all of us.
Yeah.
But I think she echoes the same sentiment. Like when we have these conversations, Jay, the same sentiment that you bring about when I ask you when we come down to it and we go back and forth for an hour or so, and then at the end I'll be like, well, what's the answer then? You'd be like, we gotta organize and mobilize, but people don't do it,
Ourselves.
But and
Yeah.
it's like and
Because
so
everybody's
that same-
mad about like the gentrification of DC and like what's happening. And it's like I was talking to Wes Felt. Well, not
I
talking
was
to him,
about
just
to
on
say that's a
Facebook.
good point. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's like, and he agreed with me. I was like, yo, we deserve to have the city taken from us. We've had countless opportunities to organize around our communities and mobilize around our communities and around our children and around our health and around our health care. And, we've had countless hundreds of opportunities to organize and mobilize our communities against any outside forces, but we've chosen to do otherwise. And so it's war. Like people forget we are in the middle of war. We are on occupied territory, and it's war. And it's like, watch your news feed. Look at what they're doing to us every second, every minute, every hour. There is no break. There is no break of the onslaught of oppression from this corporation on us. But it's such a well-tuned machine that we are so under duress that we just want to escape. So we'll get high and we'll go shopping and we'll, and it's not a knock to our people. It's a scientific strategy behind our complacency with our condition. So it's about putting people in position that can counter the oppressive narrative. I think should be much more important than voting.
Okay, so what does that look like though? Like
Well,
realistically, what can somebody listening to this and like, yeah, he's right. What can they do right now today?
Well, we got to find people we believe in, like that we know. Like we put all we have to do is find people we believe in. And to be honest, I don't believe in anyone because everyone has been so coerced by this system and the ideology of the United States that it's hard to find someone who's really willing to rock the boat and change the paradigm because that's what's necessary. So nobody who gets into a position of visibility will ever have the interest of the proletariat class of people because the state controls the elements of mind control of the human body to kind of, I guess, sway how people think and feel. So it's like we have to find people within our own communities who we believe in and support and prop them up to give them visibility or a voice to counter, the current narrative of the state. And so that's if people want to do something now today, just it's a mental check-in. It's a mental check-in. Like that's what you could do today, right now. Do a mental check-in and check your Rolodex of people in your mind that you trust, that you think will be a good representation of your family, yourself, your community, that you trust with your children to give a direction and a guideline and a framework of how we can have a lifestyle that's harmonious, with the earth and with other inhabitants of the earth, because it's obvious the culture that we live in isn't harmonious with the earth. There's always wars. There's always like whales and shit dying, and Amazon forests being cut down, and like fracking and drilling. And it's like, this is the culture that we're supporting. This is what your vote is going to. Your vote is going to police brutality and mass incarceration and just hating black people. And that's who you're voting for. And we have to just, so what people can do today, Dave, to answer your question, is do a mental check-in of themselves and really self-evaluate what you're putting your time behind and your energy behind and your money behind. We have to realize what we are supporting and what these candidates represent. So that's what people can do right now, today, is their own personal mental, spiritual, and physical check-in of what, in totality, what they are supporting with their vote.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Jay Son's fist up moment for the
I
day.
got a lot more fist up moments today, nigga.
Well, you had it very long. It's 11:33, nigga. We can't let you go.
I'm
forever.
sorry, but it is
I
Memorial
appreciate
Day,
you.
so I don't know how you're just gonna let that go by.
Yeah, it's Memorial Day, definitely. And yeah, I had some more stuff. You brought up Wes Felton and him, and he's been releasing music, this whole time throughout this pandemic. And
And he's been painting art. I'm about to buy a West Felton art
original
piece
piece,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he released a track with him and Uptown XO. Shout out to Uptown XO.
XO just released a video today too.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the president. Yeah.
The one that him and Wes did together, the way things used to be. He released it on I think it was Instagram and all the social media platforms. It's a dope video. Probably two of the best lyricists in the DMV. Check it out if you get a
Absolutely.
chance. I told them I would shout them out, and I wanted to because they're dope. They do their thing. It's hard
Yeah,
to.
absolutely.
I'm looking through all the stuff I wanted to talk about after all that Jay just said. It feels.
Oh, your notes. Get your notes together, Dave.
But I will talk about Joyner Lucas and how the song "Will" that Joyner Lucas put
Yeah,
out.
shout out Crank Lucas.
Yeah, it was produced by the DMV's own Crank Lucas.
Yeah.
Best known for his comedy skits, he posts to social media. Crank Lucas actually produces all the music heard in his skits. He uses his skits as a showcase for his productions. He also shows his lyrical skills in a lot of the skits, even when the verses are written as jokes to express some of the woes the studio engineers go through. It's evident that his pen game is serious. But it's the track that he did for Joyner Lucas's song "Will," which was a song written to pay homage to actor Will Smith, that is getting him a lot of notoriety.
Oh,
The
Dave. So the bougie people say homage.
homage, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
homage,
okay.
homage, yeah,
I thought it was homage and
homage,
shit.
yeah, homage,
My bad.
homage. It's homage.
Homage, homage,
Hate you.
Homage.
homage.
What did I say? Did I say homage?
Hate you. Homage.
Homage. Anyway, you don't like homage?
I do. I like it. Hate you.
I like you.
I wasn't privy to it. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
You ain't know about HU? Anyway, homage. But yeah, look, man.
I didn't.
Anyway, so yeah, he made the song to pay homage to actor Will Smith, and the song's namesake, Will Smith, actually last week added his vocals to the track.
Will killed that verse.
Yeah,
He killed it.
like,
You heard that? Will spitting like he's like out in the trap with Young Thug or something.
And that's what shortly after the video was released.
You heard it, Ish?
No, I just saw the interview.
Will
I
is
saw the interview
spitting
he did
bars.
with Joyner Lucas,
Like
but I
Will
didn't
is
see.
spitting. He's spitting
Okay, I have to
bars.
listen to it.
You
Yeah.
gotta check
Oh,
that
yeah.
joint out.
So look, shortly after the video was released, Crank Lucas took to social media to talk about his feelings about having such an iconic artist rapping on one of his beats. He said it was an honor. He said he went on to say that though he is often underrated, Will has always been a dope lyricist, and we haven't heard him spit like this in a while. But quote, sometimes it takes the right producer to bring it out of a legend. So yeah, the track is crazy too. I got to give it
It
to him.
is crazy.
And Joyner Lucas killed it. The video is amazing. The original video that he shot, where he put himself in the different Will Smith movie roles, and Will loved it so much that he spit over the beat. And yeah, Crank Lucas, he was
Hey,
already
shout
talking
out
about
Frank
how
Lucas.
people, yeah, he was already talking about how some of the local artists were mad at him for charging his prices for his beats. It's like, nigga, you should have got him then, because now it's gonna be bananas.
Right, you
Like,
got Will Smith on
yeah,
the
you
joint.
can't, you
Yeah.
can't afford him now, so you should have got it when it was.
Hey,
Yeah,
but you know
shout
what's
out-
funny, babe? Me and Duff was talking about maybe like a month or two ago how he was like, Will Smith is a dope MC, man. I got him like in the rank with the tops like LL and Rakim. I was like, whatever. I was like, ain't no way you think about bars, you think about Will Smith. Then like a month
Oh my
later,
goodness.
he dropped this
Really?
joint. I was like, but even before this, him and Jazzy Jeff did that little live,
Yeah.
brand new funk live, and I was already put my foot in my mouth. I was like, yeah, he just spitting bars on that
Telling
joint.
you, like,
But
just
then
lyrically.
the Will joint came out. I was like, all right. I
Like,
was just
people don't,
completely wrong. Will
people-
got bars.
People always talk about how he's going. Hey Z, that's Jay's daughter Z. She made a guest appearance. She'll
Yeah.
do that.
She
from
is
time to time.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, people talk about how Will is corny and he made the switch to acting and it took something away from him. But lyrically, he's always had it. I mean, it's just like
And I listened to a lot of his old work, like from them old albums. It's like, yeah, I guess
he
because
always had it.
he is corny.
He is.
But-
He's corny.
He got bars. He got
And what-
corny.
what makes him corny,
It
though?
works to his advantage, though. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
authentic about who he is.
Right.
So
And
it,
then-
it
is
would
that
have been
what makes him corny?
ridiculous. Well, I'm just saying it would have been ridiculous for Will Smith to try and be thugged out. Like Will is like highly, like an intellectual kind of dude. That's his lane. He's good in that lane. So no, I mean he's corny, but there's nothing wrong with that.
What makes him corny? I don't think it's corniness. I just think because he ain't killing people. You know what I'm saying? He
You
ain't
don't
on
have-
his
you
tracks
don't- you-
murdering.
But
You
not.
don't
But,
have
but you know what? He admits it. You know what I'm saying? He
Right,
was like,
he owns
because
it.
when he
He
was
ain't
talking
saying
about,
he's
he was like when
corny.
Jada and Pac, he was like, that's Pac. He's like, I'm Will. I'm like the corny dude from Philly. Like, he said it himself. So it ain't
Right.
like us putting something on him. Like he's a super intelligent genius of a man.
Yes.
So he
Yes.
knows he
perception,
knows
though.
who he is and how he's perceived around the world.
Right, it's
But I
perception.
saw one comment. They was like, that's Will trying to outdo Pac for Jada on that Will track.
I think Will outdid Pac when Will survived. It's like he's still
Say it
around.
again. Right. There's
Like,
that.
I mean,
Hey.
and no shade to Pac. Pac was a
No
great,
shade, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't think he's worried about. I think first of all, he got Jada. You know what I'm saying? Regardless.
But what he's saying, again, this is from Will himself saying that he was intimidated by Jada's relationship with Pac. He would be in a room
originally.
with Pac and
Yeah.
just feel, not as confident because Pac is there. Like he was like, and his quote was, Pac is Pac.
Yeah,
I'm corny Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
this isn't me putting anything on him. I'm just regurgitating things that he's mentioned, that he's said, and that he's felt.
Yeah, I hear you. So, but yeah, I don't think the brother's corny. I think he's not no.
Well,
G.
I'm a fan, but as far as bars is concerned, and I think he has corny bars, but I think he's an excellent artist. And, it's not saying that he's whack. It's a difference between being whack and being corny.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
That's
corny, you can get hits like da ha da ha. That's corny, but that's a hit. That's
It's a one-
like
it's a difference
that track
between
is like
one
30
hit
years
wonder,
old and all of us know it.
But hold on now.
Hey.
Understanding the music game is you've been around it for a long time, and it's the difference between a solidified hit and a one-hit wonder. Like that's the only
That's
what I'm saying?
true. That's true.
It's something
But what I'm
that's
saying is
catchy to
there
people
are
as
like
opposed
gangster
to
rappers
lasting quality.
Yeah, but there are gangster rappers who are tough and ain't corny, but they whack.
Right.
So
Well,
Will
that's a
ain't
whole
whack.
different thing.
Will
Yeah,
ain't
so
whack. It's a
yeah,
different thing.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Corny-
Will ain't
corny
whack.
it's not synonymous with being whack. You're just
Right.
corny.
Right. So that's all I'm saying, Dave. It's not like a
Alright.
negative,
Alright.
like he's corny. It's just like his lane is like I talk about my mom in raps, and I talk about stories. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not whack. It's corny.
You ever
Yeah,
seen how
exactly.
Family Guy did him when they was talking about Will and they was like he raps happy and they had like it was supposed to be him rapping and he's like help your parents clean up the house.
It sounds like Will.
It was funny, but yeah, man. So you know, in researching this, I was thinking about how we always do the top 5 lists. You know, we always ask people who their best MCs are, but should it be a separate lane for just lyricism? Because if you
Yes.
think about it, like, cause like Pac is the greatest, like he's at the top of most people's list, but
Yeah.
lyrically he's not as methodical as a Rakim or Eminem or you know or some
Biggie.
of these other or Biggie,
Yeah, I can
lyrically and how they put their words together. But it was something
I agree.
about
But
his
he's probably the
vibrations
best
that
rapper.
resonated.
He's probably the best rapper, but he's not the best lyricist.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
I could
right.
agree with that.
So it
Because
should
there are a
be
lot
like
of lyricists that can put bars together and words together, I think, more intricately than Pop.
definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
But I
it
don't
was
think
the
there's
way-
nobody that represents the culture harder and more than
Right,
Pop.
right. It was his cultural impact that made him the
Yeah.
overall artist. That
Right.
you know, that's why he gets at the top of the list, and he was something that you know the world needed at the time that he was there, and we kind of still
Absolutely.
need, even though he's dead. I'm waiting
Yeah.
on Jay Sun's album to come out so he can be the.
Hey, you know, Jason for President is out right now.
Well, I mean,
Go to jasonslyrics.com. You can check it out. That Pac-esque influence.
yeah,
Got the song, got the single out with EXO. Don't die, stay alive during Corona. Don't
yeah,
die.
Yeah.
Don't
That's
die.
true on all sites too. Jason, Uptown, EXO. Yeah.
I would look for that. Is that on title? Because you know I.
Yep,
would
it's
look
on
for title.
all them joints called
Okay.
Don't Die.
Yeah,
Me
it's
and
dope.
Uptown, EXO.
I sat down and listened to it. You know, I told you a couple of weeks ago actually because he had been talking about it for a while, and I, you know, working and stuff. But I really got a chance to listen to it, and I was like, all right, it's pretty good. Yeah, you know, I had to
Thanks,
give it
Dave.
you know how when you hear something you like and your voice go up a couple of, all right.
Thanks for
Now
the
we have
high
to- now we have
octaves,
to-
Dave.
I see you.
Now we have to
I
see
see you.
David.
Yeah.
Tell me,
So,
David, who's
but
the
yeah,
best one?
before we get into this interview, real quick, I have one more question for y'all related to this whole coronavirus epidemic, and I'm glad that Isha is here because you know the conversations that we used to have about relationships, and I noticed the shift. There was already a shift happening in interpersonal relationships, whether it was romantic or you know or just dealing with you know friendships and things of that nature. How
Each gave me the side eye, Dave. I saw it.
yeah, I saw it. She's like, well, she always did. She listened to where my question going because she know how you know build it up. So she be like, where is this nigga going with this? But anyway,
Right.
But so there has been definitely the shift already began with you know technology from social media to just the things that take the conversation out of our mouths and put it into our hands. I came up with that last night. That was kind of dope, right? Anyway, bars, no, but anyway, but yeah, just the face to face. Thank you. It was somebody laughed. Anyway, the face to
Thank you.
face conversations.
You think that laugh was for you?
I was laughing at Jason.
I knew what you was laughing at. I was like,
Anyway.
Dave corny.
Anyway, yeah, I'll take the
Dave's
corny.
corny.
I enjoy
I
the
didn't say
corny.
whack. I said corny.
I revel
Not
in my
whack,
corniness.
right.
But anyway, so the conversation is focus. No, but anyway. So, but yeah, just the loss of interpersonal skills that comes along with the strides in technology, and now it's getting even deeper with the coronavirus separating people. You know, we have to stay at home. We social distancing, which is a huge thing. And do you think relationships, and more specifically romantic relationships, will be forever changed? Do you think they'll survive this this whole you know epidemic or this pandemic? Do you think it'll be something
Of course.
completely different?
Of course they'll
It depends
survive.
on the people.
Yeah, of course.
But it'll be
It
different
depends on
though,
the
right?
people. I mean, like, you
Elaborate,
get ready
ladies.
to find out
Elaborate,
if you really
ladies.
do like your mate.
Say it again. I'm sorry. Jay was yelling something.
I was
I
yelling,
was saying
elaborate.
that you find out if you really do like your mate or not. But other than that, I mean, it just really depends on the couple.
So that's if you in the house with them though, right? But if you communicate and if you're you know in a situation where y'all not living together, y'all is in separate locations and you social distancing, you separate and it extends that distance between you. And I mean, I know there are things that say, you know, distance makes the heart grow fonder and things like that. But
Ain't nobody social distancing.
Nobody social
No,
distancing.
I'm about to say nobody's
Not
social
from their
distancing.
dude or from their woman, no.
No, that's what I'm about to say. If you are carnally engaged with each other, you are not social distancing. No.
You're not social
Carnally
distancing.
engaged,
You going to
yes.
see him? She coming to
What
see him.
college you go to, Ish?
I'm just saying. You.
He want to shout it out. That's what he do.
Oh, University of Maryland. Hey,
You went, oh, UM?
You
College Park?
right there you go.
What you say, carnally?
carnally.
Carnally involved with
Break
somebody.
that down for me, Dave.
Right.
Can I
If you are carnally engaged, yeah.
Domino, can you break that down? What's carnally mean?
If carnally, like you're in it, you're in
Bodily
the midst of
exchange.
Oh, bodily exchange.
Bodily.
Okay.
This
Thank
right
you.
here.
You're welcome.
that part. Oh gosh, and you.
We are tripping.
Right.
That's gonna be fun. But I feel like
So what I do like about it, though, what I do like about the social distancing, now, if you are dating and you're like meeting people, say online, virtual dating is like a thing right now, and I think that that's like a very interesting phenomenon that's a result of the corona situation.
But then you don't find out if they got prosthetics or not.
that's what I'm saying. That's what we just talked about catfish. Right? I hope she don't see this, but anyway.
I know, right? You about to get text after this show, Dave. Like, oh yeah,
No.
you just gonna talk about what?
Well, I didn't say her name, but
Ain't too many-
it can
let me
be a
stop.
good thing. I think it's a double-edged sword because in those situations where, because I think we were also moving toward a place of hyper intimacy. It's like you go, people have sex first and then try to build relationships from it, as opposed to the other way around.
That's
getting to know each other.
hypersexuality, though. It's not hyper intimacy.
That's what I meant. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Hypersexuality. Thank you for that's what. Yeah, all right. Anyway. But she. So I think that the social distancing does give people a chance to kind of build those and get to know somebody. You know if you don't like them before you smash if y'all talking for 2 weeks, or a month.
That's all you giving them.
Well, I mean, however
When
long.
you horny, it don't even matter. Like, I just hope she shut up. And I'm gonna go over there and just in and out. You know what I'm saying?
But
that ain't
no,
gonna
you
stop
don't
too
even
many
know
brothers.
it's
Like,
a
yo, I
week
hate her
that
guts, but I'm still going.
I just do that's true. I just do a time out there, but I'm saying it does give you more time to get to know the person as opposed to jumping into something and then finding out that they're a deranged killer. And but like I said, it's a double-edged sword because then there's also the aspect of getting to know that person and not really getting to know them, getting to know the person that they're representing themselves to be. And then you wind up with that catfish situation.
But is that really because of social distancing though? Like that existed before.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's because of it, but it's definitely more prevalent. It's definitely.
You think?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like the social distancing at best is an excuse for you to delay. You know what I mean? Like if somebody you've met online and you've been conversing for a couple of weeks, you're like, nah, we're social distancing right now. You can delay it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a whole, I don't really see it impacting it to that degree. No.
Okay. You don't see any, but I mean, do you see like the shift that's already been happening?
No.
What shift have you recognized?
What shift?
Yeah,
we're all curious,
Come
Dave.
on now,
Is this like the rice situation? What's going on, David? Talk to me.
The what?
Is this like the rice? You remember we were talking about the rice that time? Me, you, and Mike?
Now, what you're not going to do is get into some personal side conversations on the show. That's not going to happen.
You weren't there. Right.
You're not going to do that.
The rice conversation, the fake
Nope.
rice. But anyway,
The fake
I remember
rice.
it. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah.
What's the shift, David? What's the shift? Give us
what's the shift?
What shift is
Well,
that?
just,
We all of us want to know, Dave.
just that especially younger people, because of their lack of direct face-to-face contact or the diminishing of it, they're losing their interpersonal skills. And I mean, it's been studies about it. I'll send you articles about how there's a change happening within people. Yeah, I mean, but I guess y'all don't see it. All right, so that's fine. So we're moving on then. Look, I know when
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, let's keep it going. So Domino, talk about the shift in your life now.
Hold on. You about to go into her interview?
Yeah, you got something before that?
I do. We gotta recognize Memorial Day.
Okay.
No, Memorial Day is today, Z. Yeah.
Oh, she had plans on Memorial Day. She didn't know
No,
it
no,
was.
no. Because I told
Gotta get
her because they asked me what Memorial Day was, but I told them there's a history that wasn't explained, and I was supposed to
Oh
tell it to them
yes.
last night, but me and Soul were recording recording a song, and so by the time I came back, they were asleep. So not just for my children, but also just to put it out for the world, because typically a lot of people out here doing
Big job.
cookouts and
Sorry.
celebrating, the armed service men and women that are fighting for this corporation, and but a lot of people don't understand the true initial Memorial Day was in Charleston, South Carolina, I believe in about 1865 after the Civil War.
Yes.
The Union had defeated the Confederacy, and then in Charleston, South Carolina, they just there was a whole bunch of murder, there was a whole bunch of
Yep.
bloodshed during the Civil War, and so once the Confederacy lost, they just left all of the dead bodies on this just on the battlefield. And so what happened was once the Union Army won, and the black people didn't flee, they stayed there. So the black people organized their own communities. They didn't call on the state or some random white person to help them. They was like, yo, this is our community. So they gathered all of the bodies. They dug up, because they had like mass graves. They dug up all of the bodies. They went to this, I guess, abandoned like racehorse track, and they buried all of
Yep.
the bodies in their own individual graves, and then they had a celebration for those fallen black soldiers. I think it was black and white soldiers actually,
Mm-hmm.
but the black people was like, we're going to put them in their proper burials. We're going to have a grave, and then they had a memorial. It was called Decoration Day back in that time. And then so it was about 10,000 people, and it was all black people, about 10,000 black people in Charleston, South Carolina. They buried these people in their graves. They sang songs. They had poetry. They had children put flowers and stuff on the graves, and then they had a memorial service for these fallen soldiers, and that is Memorial Day. But nowadays, that is never discussed. It's always just about like the people in the armed forces that are serving the United States corporation. But these people that are out on that battlefield serve the country of America, not the corporation of the United States. So there's a difference. And there's a reason why that original true story is not told. That's why I told my children the real story of what Memorial Day is. Because, we just eating hot dogs and having cookouts and like, shouting out to the people that are in fatigues and military service. And salute them also. But what I'm saying is it initially derived, it's a black celebration, and it's a black memorial for black people that fought and gave their lives for the country, not the corporation.
Right. And Isha, I heard you agreeing with him. You from, Charleston, right?
Are you from Charleston?
Does any of that history?
Do they teach
do they
that in
talk
y'all
about it?
history?
What's that? I didn't hear you.
That's my bad, Dave.
No, I was asking the same question Jay was asking. Is that something that's taught in Charleston?
No, it's not. No. Mm-mm.
But I'm sure you've heard, you know about that,
Yeah.
right? Just from
Yeah,
being
I've
in
heard
Charleston.
of
But
it, yeah.
that wasn't taught in your school system.
No, that's a colloquial thing you'll learn. Yeah, they don't teach that to you in school. No.
Right.
So you had to hear it passed down from grandparents. Yeah, from the old folks. This is what it's really about.
Because it's probably some of your family up in them graves that they, real talk. Some of all our family is in them graves. Now, I got long-term memory, which is why I carry a lot of the ideology that I carry today, because I have a long-term memory.
You're griot, is it griot?
Yeah, well, either way, depending on where you from. Ain't you?
Yeah, that's your UDC, right? That's what, shout out your college, man. But
I'll do it when I do great things, but when I fuck up, I shout out, "Ain't you?"
Oh, okay, all right. Let's put you in a position to.
But that's all I got, Dave. That's my second Black Fist moment.
Yeah, fist up moment for the anyway.
Yeah, the true Memorial Day celebration for people who weren't privy to the info.
Right, and thank you for that, man. I know a lot of people aren't privy to that type of information. I found that out maybe 10 years ago. That type that there was a separate origin to it, and it wasn't just about support the troops and thanks for your service and
Right.
tip me a hat to them. That it actually came from something that we started, and they took it and
As
moved it. And
always, we
yeah,
always start with something, and we always get it taken from us.
yeah, yeah.
But them days is changing. That's the shift I see, Dave.
Is that the shift?
It's the shift I'm talking about. I don't
UDC.
know about this social distancing shift, but I see the shift in us taking that shit back.
I'm a firm believer. Black people make it cool, and white people make it profitable. And it's important for us to keep the money for ourselves. You know what I mean? We already have the cool factor.
Yeah.
It's
Ooh, that's a good segue into Domino.
yeah.
Ain't it, Dave? Wasn't that good?
Because she's cool and profitable. Nah, but
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
oh no, I was trying to help him with the
It's
segue.
crazy today.
But you have businesses, so you are profitable. But
Okay.
but yeah, I just want to talk to you. Like I've told you on many occasions, like the reason that we did getting over the hump and that we do this show. One of the main reasons that I do it is to bring people who I admire on and just shower them with admiration and kudos for all the awesome stuff that they do. And I've always told you, that your light is bright, and I see it often,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, just all the things that you do and took the time to do. Like I always say, it's one thing to see a need, see that the world has a need. First of all, a need in yourself, but then recognize that it's something that everyone has, and then say, oh, that's messed up. They have that. But then it's another thing to see that and make attempts to kind of fill that need or fulfill those those empty spaces that are missing. And so with your organization, the Exquisite Ladies of Diamond Class, did I say it right? It's been
Yes.
a long time, but yeah, but yeah, you definitely have been fulfilling that need from offering everything from your own personal house with shelter to food to essential toiletries and things of that nature to just a listening ear and advice to people who are going through probably one of the hardest things that they'll ever have to go through in their life, and providing that to people is such a huge I can't overstate how enormous the gift that you're giving them is, and
Thank you.
the blessing that you are to these people. And I mean, I'm sure you hear it all the time, but you're gonna hear it some more from me. So nanny boo boo hu. But so what made you
Jay. So that
I'll wait
was
for the
I ain't, I'm trying.
he said he
We
got
got our
the
own personal Will Smith over this motherfucker.
clean up the house for your parents. Ha 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 ha. But so your motivation, I'm just push through the disrespectful actor. Hey, Ish. But
Oh,
but on a
man.
serious note, the motivation for you starting your organization came from situations in your own personal life that you went through, and what about that made you decide to extend these arms of love and this help and everything that you've been doing to other people?
what made me reach out to help other
Yeah,
people,
decide that it was something that you wanted to do for others.
because what I went through was so devastating, and the mindset that I had while I was in my situation, I know that most women that are still in the situation that I was in probably have the same mindset, and I just needed for people to understand that they're not alone in it. There is help out here, whether it be from somebody that you don't know or somebody within your own family, or or a friend. Um, I couldn't stand by and not do something about something I had the power to help change or to help make a difference in. Like, knowing what I went through, the physical, emotional, and financial abuse that I went through, like just knowing that another woman is in a situation like that with or without children, I couldn't stand by and just let it happen and not do something once I was able to get out of it.
Yeah, definitely. So you've done a number of different like events. I remember I helped you with a couple of them, that the hat
Yep.
shows and the different things of that nature to just give support and raise money and different things of that nature to help forward your your efforts. So at this time, if people want to help support you, where can they give? Where can they go to support? Like you have like a GoFundMe or Cash Apps or anything of that nature that people can give to?
I don't have a GoFundMe. I do have a Cash App, and it's the $ Ladee Domino 1, Ladee, capital Domino, the number one. And anything that's donated will go, depending on how you label it in the comment box. If it's for domestic abuse, it'll go towards victims and survivors of domestic abuse. Or I also have another program that I started, Infinite Wisdom Homeschooling Tutoring. It'll go towards that. I assist parents who don't have the ability to homeschool. I homeschool for them.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that too. Yeah, well, that's a segue, so we might as well start talking about it. But Infinite Wisdom Homeschool. So I know you in your professional life you were a teacher in the school system at one time, and
Yes.
segued that into teaching the homeschooling curriculum. What made you make that change and make that leap into homeschooling?
So my first incident is what led to me um, doing what I do now as far as homeschooling. When I was in a domestic abusive relationship with my ex-husband, it affected one of my sons to the point where he now suffers from PTSD.
Okay.
And he would shut all the way down, like he would just shut down, and that led to him being bullied in school. And there was absolutely no help at all whatsoever from the school system. Um, Aside from me actually approaching the parents of the kids that were bullying my kid, like that was the only thing that I could do to stop the bullying. And by fifth grade, the damage was done. So I ended up just pulling him out of school. I quit my job. I did my research. I rented a classroom. I started homeschooling him. And the space where I was renting from, there was an actual daycare, but she had older kids as well. And the parents would come in and, they would have to walk by my classroom. And when they saw what I was doing, they stopped and asked questions. And by the end of the school year, I had 7 kids in my classroom. And it started from just my son.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I think, the essence of what Jay was talking about, taking that initiative as an individual, not waiting on the city or the state to make a school, but you
because they won't
need.
help.
Yeah.
They won't help.
Yeah, you saw a need and you fulfilled that need, and just to be the type of person, because there's you're not the only person that saw that need, but you're one of the people who took the initiative to actually fill it, and yeah, that's amazing. So right now you said at the end of that school year you had 7 kids. Right now I know you've been teaching. You've been homeschooling. Have you seen more children because of the COVID-19 situation?
I've actually had, instead of on the homeschool side, on the tutoring side, like I've started tutoring more kids. Well, I started tutoring more kids once the whole shut the school system down thing started.
Okay.
So yeah. But I've always maintained my natural group of homeschoolers that I had from the beginning of 2019.
Yeah, because it started kind of in the middle of the school year, so it'll be hard for them to transition. But yeah, I'm saying that you probably have a lot more in your future, because it ain't no telling when this whole thing is gonna. Yeah. So how different is it from teaching in the classroom, and what are some of the benefits to the homeschool curriculum as opposed to the classroom? I guess state issued classroom, for lack of a better term.
So I actually have a classroom. It's just that with the COVID-19 thing, we've been doing it via Zoom. But I actually have a whole classroom. I rent a space out in the church that's about 5 minutes from, not even 5 minutes from my house. Um, I have a full curriculum that I created myself, but I do go by Maryland standard of for the Board of Education what they need to know by the time they finish a particular grade. But the difference between being in a classroom and doing it via Zoom is that I cannot walk around to each particular child
Right.
and give them physical assistance like that. I mean, I'm still able to give personalized and individualized attention, but it's just it takes away from for me. It feels like it takes away from the actual, the personal touch
Is
to
that
to
that
teaching.
interpersonal thing you're referencing,
So,
David?
so
Is
would
that
you
what
Yeah.
say
you're
it's a shift? Would you call that a no? Anyway, anyway,
That's a shift in teaching, not a shift in relationships.
but in anyway, we're not gonna go back to that. We'll go back. I'm gonna call you later and we're gonna debate. But anyway, but you
But
do
it's
so.
still
Oh, go
it's
ahead.
still it's still a very powerful tool being able to do it
Definitely,
via Zoom because I'm
definitely.
still able to keep up with them and make sure because I've also integrated Google Classrooms, which is what a lot of school systems use, and it helps me to be able to keep up with what they're doing and for them to be able to keep up with what they need to be doing.
So, as a teacher and someone who's currently doing the homeschooling, I've noticed there's been a lot in the news recently about the schools, a lot of school systems deciding to they've been doing the Zoom classroom, but for the most part, they've decided to, based on where the child was at the time that this thing occurred, to go ahead and pass a lot of the students. Do you think that's a good idea to go ahead and just move them up to the next grade?
No, because if we have any type of normalcy next school year, which I don't see it being, but if we have any type of normalcy next school year, if Johnny was in the 10th grade and at the end of second quarter Johnny couldn't do 1 plus 1, why would you pass Johnny to the 11th grade when the 11th
yeah.
grade is totally different from the 10th? And if you don't have the basis for what you need to get you to the next, then Johnny is you're doing him a disservice. Like he's going to
Yep.
fail. There's going to be a lot of frustration. There's going to be a lot of anger, anguish, and you're going to have a lot of backlash from parents as well as teachers. So no, I
Yep.
don't think it's a good idea. But the way that, because my son Shawn Michael is now in the 10th grade, and he goes to Wise, and the way that they're doing it is pass or fail. It's either pass or fail. If you complete all of your assignments, and for the most part, his teachers has been, checking the work to make sure it's substantial work and things like that. If you're passing what they're giving you, then you get, promoted to the next grade. But there's still the factor of actual teaching the work that's missing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So you think they'll be underprepared for that next grade when they get
They're
there?
definitely not going to be prepared for the next school year.
Yeah, and that's just it feels like a little to me, and you can speak to this. But when I was hearing it, like I completely agree with you, and I felt that way. That's why I wanted to ask you because you actually been there in the classrooms and stuff. But if it feels like to me that it's kind of like the yeah, well we'll just leave it on the next year teacher. They'll deal with it. They'll be fine. And
Yeah,
that's kind of cruddy, isn't it? That's terrible. Like
it definitely is, especially for new teachers that you have coming in that'll probably be their first year teaching.
mm,
Like people don't even factor that into play. Like you're giving them, you're pretty much throwing them to the wolves.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
already had, uh, I hate to use the word dysfunctional, but if you already had a classroom full of overly rambunctious kids that, you got a class of 28 of those super hormonal, rambunctious kids, and then you have a teacher that's her first year teaching, and again, I'm using the 11th grade, and then you throw all these 10th graders that you just passed to the 11th grade to this particular teacher, he or she is going to be like, what in the world did I sign myself up for?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be so. It's gonna be interesting to see, what happens next school year and how they handle it. I don't want to stay too much on the teaching because I definitely want to talk a little bit about your other business, the 17 and up meals, where you cook delicious, nutritious food. For people that can order the meals, you have the Instagram page set up where you put out your menus and things of that nature.
Yes.
And I just have one question. Can I get a plate? and how do I
Of
pick up
course.
that plate and what's the menu for this week and what no but so with all the things
So,
that you do though, I just want to because you do so much, like what made you decide to start making the meals?
well, the meals thing again was another personal issue. I had an episode a couple of years ago where I've always had migraines. I've had migraines since I was in high school, and a couple of years ago, this one particular migraine came about where it came on differently. Like it was almost like a shower, like it just poured down, and I could feel it like pouring down from the top of my head, like, and it stopped like right here. But by the time it got past my ears,
Mm,
my head had hurt so bad that I could barely speak.
mm,
My dad rushed me to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I was stuttering. My blood pressure was 225 over 150.
dang, you
They
was
thought that
dead.
I was either having a stroke or getting ready to have a stroke or about to have a seizure. It was one of the three. So they rushed me to GW, where um, they did MRI, CAT scan. Everything came back cloudy and abnormal. They hooked me up to all these different machines. The EKG that was out of whack. Like everything was just off.
Yeah.
And the doctors came in and told me that they could not diagnose me with having a stroke, but what they were diagnosing me with was something called complex migraine,
Mm.
and that I needed to change up how I was eating. I needed to exercise more. I needed to drop the level of stress in my life. And one of the dietitians that was there came in and spoke to me about a Mediterranean diet. So when I went
Mm.
home, I started cooking with the different types of seasonings and things like that. Cut out salt, cut out, bleach this and bleach that. Um, and I saw within 3 weeks that I had lost 17 pounds, and my blood pressure was back to normal, and the migraine completely went away. The stuttering kind of, it dwindled. It gradually went away, and you know, I can't remember who it was. One of my girlfriends was at my house one day, and I had, given her something that I'd made, and it was the kale salad that I normally make
Mm.
that can't seem to stay in my refrigerator. And she was like, "Girl, you need to sell this to people." Then she asked me to do a tasting party for her.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I got about 5 clients from that. And then I just marketed, myself, and people started coming, and I've just been going ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. It's always interesting to see just the power and back to what Jay was saying, like the power that we have, the control that we have over even our own circumstances when it comes to our health. And I know
Mm.
Aisha's a huge proponent of this also of just changing your diet and not just taking what's given, but making sure that you're eating right and making the right decisions as to what you put in your body because of how drastically it can affect your your overall health situation. My
Right.
situation, I was you guys know I was diagnosed with diabetes last year, and I
Mm.
ain't take the medicine. I ain't do none of the stuff. I just changed my diet and worked out some, and my levels are back to normal. It
Good.
didn't take any of that stuff, and they kept because when the doctor was talking about the medicine, he's like, "I want you to take this medicine, and this will help you with your sugar levels, but you also have to take this medicine because the first medicine is
Mm.
really hard on your stomach, so we want you to take this medicine, but this
Right.
medicine is
Yeah.
really tough on your bladder, so we're gonna test this one on you, and if it works, we're gonna give you this other medicine." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not doing none of
And
that."
next thing you know, your liver is damaged, your
Right,
kidneys are
yeah.
messed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
yeah.
Right.
The side
Erectile
effects may include
dysfunction.
right, yeah, So, but yeah, it's just the side effects are insane, and every
Um,
pill that they were suggesting, I'm going home and googling the list of side effects, and it's like a laundry
oh
list
yeah,
of
it's
things
terrible.
that
Yeah, it's
may
terrible.
happen, and I just don't, I'm always scared that with my luck, I'm gonna be that one person that gets all of them, and it just hits me all at once. So I just don't do none of it. But I mean, it all comes back to just getting back in touch with the, our natural instincts, our natural, eating right, eating healthy, using the stuff that's provided here for us, the earth, vegetables,
Right.
fresh foods,
Right.
not relying on somebody else to make the food for us, and not knowing exactly what they put in this stuff and that you can't pronounce and things like that. So
Right.
that's
Well,
such
you
a
can
huge.
rely on me to make your food for you.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, because I'm coming to get a plate. I'm serious. It's
I
but
start back up next month.
okay.
I've gotten to the point where I only do it in the summertime because teaching takes so much of my
Yeah.
time. And then I still help out with the women, anybody that's in need of assistance as far as domestic abuse is concerned. So I've gotten to the point where I only cook during the summer time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was one of my next questions was how do you balance all the things that you do? So you have it like the cooking is only really in the summer. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's amazing, man. You do so much. Like, is there any
I
other
mean,
hidden?
I'm on assignment. Like I do what I'm called to do. Like I can't sit by again. I don't feel like I would be doing anybody any good if I have all these skills and talents that were bestowed upon me, and then I just sit twiddle my fingers all day. Like, how's that helping anybody? So, my whole thing is God gave me a second chance at life, so I'm going to do what I possibly can, everything in my power, to make sure I'm living it to the fullest as far as the gifts that He's given.
Hey, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, yeah. See y'all. I told you she was dope.
Hey, I have a very important question.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yes,
What you
sir.
got?
So, Domino,
Sir.
what is up with the clock behind you?
What? What?
So,
Wait a minute. All that she said about like, and you back there looking at the clock.
Yeah, that joint has been on my mind. Like, what's up with that joint? Does that joint say
so
12:43?
this room that I'm in is, is not mine, so nothing in here belongs to me.
I'm
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know.
I'm,
Right, because
I'm like,
the
yo, it's
time
not
got you
12.
thrown off.
It's
Time
not
is a
12:43.
construct.
sorry.
Just a construct.
Right,
I
right.
know we
Yeah,
could be
so
in
when
like
I
a
come in
third.
here,
I was like, is she in a different dimension? Like, is this a time warp? Like, it was just boggling my mind. Like, yo, and it's like prominent in your shot, so it's like you gotta look at it. It's like, yo, that's
I'm so
I was
sorry.
looking
Where
at
is
that
she
little
at?
lighthouse in the corner though. I wasn't
right.
looking at the. But,
Right,
She's in
yeah, that's what I was
Atlantis.
looking at, like the little shelf over there. That's what I was looking at.
Jay, so I didn't
Yeah,
even notice
it's
the clock wasn't
some
moving.
this room is a work in progress. So yeah.
All the stuff that she does to help people, and you want to talk about the clock
Got
in
the
the
I
room?
thought
GD
it might,
clock.
it might be
And
contributed to her superpowers. Like, okay, she got like a supernatural,
Time
like when
stopping.
Superman can fly around the earth. And
Earth, right, roll it back,
yeah,
right.
I was like, okay, she got like some type of powers. Like she in like another dimension. She just came on the Facebook to holler at us real quick. It's
Another
like, yo,
dimension with some hefty trash bags in the background. Stop, man. It's but, no, but I'm just messing with you, Jay.
That doesn't mean that on Bizarro World they don't have
yeah,
time
that's
for
right, Bizarro World, yeah.
I don't. You never know. But
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, no, this is just it's not my room. So
Okay.
somebody is making this into something, and the coronavirus kind of slowed the process down.
understood.
The corona stopped the clock. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Literally, right? Quite literally.
Figuratively and literally.
That's right.
That's hilarious.
I thought you was getting ready to ask me, can I fix you some food?
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you wanted to.
Well, since you recommended it,
Might as well, yeah.
That's what I was about to say. I thought that's what Jay was gonna say. About the community. You know what I mean? With
yeah,
him.
we got to mobilize ourselves.
To get over there and get a plate.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Mobilize.
So I'm putting out the new menu for y'all are hilarious. I'm putting out the new menu for June next week. And my lunch dishes always start with flavored wings and salmon, and of course the kale salad. So I've added a couple of new things to the menu, so I'm gonna let that be a little surprise. But the taste testers have given me thumbs up on it, so yeah.
Cool. And I need you to shout out all of your social medias so people know where to find you for the to get meals, to get homeschooling, the if people need help with personal situations with domestic violence, anything.
Time
Like, how can they
travel.
find you? Time, he said time travel. If they need to
Time
stop
travel,
clocks,
I got you.
they need.
All right, so
But
all right, so
yeah, where
if
can
you
they
find
find you
yourself
online?
in a situation, because I know that this whole corona thing has gotten people stuck in the house, and I mean, there are definitely people that are stuck in the house with their abusers. Um, if you find yourself in a situation and you need help and you are able to get to a phone or to a computer, I can be reached at, and I am going to give my cell phone number. I can be reached at 240-595-4244. In case of emergency, always to dial 911. If you need just some research information or anything like that, I am on Facebook under Exquisite Ladies, and it's spelled with X, not EX, XQUISITE, Ladies, LADEEZ, Exquisite Ladies of Diamond Class. Same thing on Instagram. If you're in a situation, get out. Like that's just my advice to you. Get out, especially with all of this going on. People's emotions and everything else are running on high. Get out, reach out. There's somebody that will definitely assist you. I personally can say that I will be able to assist you, but you have to reach out. Um, if you're also in a situation where you find that educating your child right now is just not anything that you're able to do, I also offer services for homeschool as well as tutoring. And the name of my program is Infinite Wisdom Homeschool and Tutoring. I am on Facebook under that name. I am on IG under that name as well. My email address is homeschooler@gmail.com. And if you're looking to lose weight and you've already started exercising and you need that extra component as far as your dietary means are concerned, definitely 17 and up meals is here to help any and everybody. Or if you just want some tasty food and you don't feel like cooking, I do I do lunches and I do dinners. I will post the menu on my 17 and up page again, just in case, because once you start adding stuff, it kind of scrolls, kind of drops to the bottom. I'll repost it, and I am on Facebook and Instagram as well, 17 and up meals. So I'm social medias, yeah, I'm here. And my phone number is that for all three. So if you need to get in touch with someone in reference to domestic violence, homeschooling, and changing your diet, that one phone number will get you everything you need. 240-595-4244, and just ask for Domino.
Is there a separate number for the time travel?
I'm sorry.
Is there a separate number for the time travel?
It's *0 **#0*0.
Oh yeah, I know that number. Okay, thank you.
We go.
But you have to go outside and look up in the sky at the same time you're dialing.
Okay, that's the element I need.
Because you're going to try it. It wouldn't have worked if you was in the house. You'd have been trying to figure out why.
Bizarro world.
Listen, if y'all bored, please don't do that. I'm just playing. Y'all gonna mess around and have EMS.
They're going to replay this. Wait, she said *0
Right.
I'm dialing it.
With Marty McFly on this joint.
Look, I was going to ask you about but I think you already answered it about the 17 and up meals, how the name came about. But you said in the first 3 weeks you lost 17 pounds. Is that where the name came from?
Yes, indeed. I lost 17 pounds, and I was going to keep going up.
Because I've known you for a while, and I've known about 17 and up for a while, and I never asked you, like, where'd you get that? And was it like 7 up, but you just didn't want to use the hit, so you was 17? I didn't know.
No,
but
I lost 17 pounds within the first 3 weeks of changing my diet.
That's awesome. And it's just that simple. You ever seen the commercials for the diet pills where they be like, if you take this pill, diet and exercise, you lose weight? And I mean, well, what if you just diet and exercise? You don't need to.
Because the pill is a placebo anyway.
Exactly.
So yeah.
They just throw it in there.
That's like a politics trick, Dave.
Yeah. So send us.
It's like a politics trick. It's like, yo, you already get, like Like if you diet and exercise, like, hey, let's add this pill though. Hey, take the pill
Right.
though.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
then
Like diet and
I can give
exercise.
all the compliments and everything to the pill and just say, the pill did it. It wasn't the diet and exercise. I wasn't
Right.
already losing weight.
Right, right,
Mhm.
yeah. They got to make you feel like, because they'll start the commercial with, "Have you been dieting for a long time and exercising and not lose weight?" And it's like, nah, you haven't. You probably tried it for a week and gave up and stuff. But everybody want the quick way out. But anyway, so yeah, don't take the quick way out. Holla at Domino. She got delicious meals for you that'll help you get this. She lost 17 pounds in the first 3 weeks. That's a testimony of how awesome and the food is delicious. Like I had some, what was it, the pasta salad? Which one did you made me some? Oh man, I forgot. I ate it so fast I don't even remember what it was. It was so delicious. But so just holler at her and get some, and also with the homeschooling and on the more serious note of the abuse situations and things of that nature. She's always a helping hand. Like I've always told her since I met her, it's just awesome to know you and consider you a friend, because what you're doing is
Oh, thank you.
amazing, and keep it up. And it can be at times a thankless, a burden, a thankless journey. And so that's why I want to make sure that we say thank you as much as possible for all the stuff that you take the initiative to do. Keep being guided by your spirit and your spirituality and your focus and drive and doing all the awesome things that you do.
Get you getting deep, Dave. Go ahead.
Hey, I do what I can.
Now let them finish.
Let him finish.
We got time.
We got plenty of time.
Right.
No, seriously, it is definitely sometimes a thankless job, but for me, the gratitude and everything I get from making sure, seeing that somebody's on the other side of where they started.
Right, right, and that's definitely a beautiful thing. I want to make sure that the thank you also comes from people looking you in your eye and saying thank you. You